I have been very disappointed with Trump.
Like, I'm kind of conflicted about Trump, like with his stance on Gaza, right?
I have been very disappointed with Trump on his perspectives about Gaza.
Holy hell, folks. We're witnessing something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. Maga is starting to turn on Trump. What? And it's not just any Maga supporters. We're talking about Candace Owens, the queen bee of right-wing conspiracy theories herself.
I am somebody who has left the cult of science.
And it's about damn time, because while the Maga influencers were busy helping Trump reclaim the White House, he was busy dreaming up ways to turn Gaza, yes, Gaza, into some kind of grotesque American real estate venture.
The Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad, this could be so magnificent.
Now, if you know anything about Candace Owens, you know that she is one of the most loyal foot soldiers for Trump's army of misinformation.
Yeah.
She's not a flat earther, but she's not exactly a round earther either.
I'm not a flat earther. I'm not a round earther.
Moon landings? Probably faked.
Well, the moon landings definitely happened because this, and the firmament, and they could get, and I'm just like, no, I don't know. Instinctually, it just doesn't register to me. It just feels like that is a lie.
And of course, she's deeply aligned with the likes of Andrew Tate and US.
You know, homosexual men aren't going to be an army of people that go and try to, like, grab their guns and take on the government.
Well, they're used to bending over.
In other words, she's not someone you'd expect to break ranks with the MAGA movement.
You go, baby!
Next to her, we have comedian Theo Von. Now, Theo was deliberately targeted by the Trump and Republican machine because they knew exactly what they were doing. They saw a comedian with a massive following of young men, precisely the demographic they needed to capture, and they went after him hard. It was painfully obvious propaganda. Remember when Theo interviewed Trump? The shameless pandering, the softball questions.
Why does the establishment keep trying to sink you? Like, what is it that they are so afraid of?
In some cases, the things we're talking about right now.
Pure political calculation. Trump's team knew that if they could get Theo on their side, they'd gain access to his millions of followers, young men recognizing that something is deeply wrong about the world. It's wealth inequality, by the way, but, you know, the Trump administration wants to make you think that it's trans people or immigrants. But these men might have otherwise stayed out of politics if it wasn't for influencers like Theo basically giving his endorsement. And it worked. Theo, like many others, got caught in the red wave. He became an unwitting vessel for MAGA messaging, helping to normalize Trump for a generation of disaffected young men who saw themselves in Theo's outside persona. So what happens when these two sit down together? You'd expect the usual MAGA greatest hits. Blue-haired liberals destroying America, sleepy Biden's failed policies, feminism ruining everything, or some other absolute tripe. But instead, something shocking happened. They actually told the truth.
Like, I'm kind of conflicted about Trump, like, with his stance on Gaza, right? To me, that's like...
Totally disagree with him on it. And it's like, it's hard to reconcile it in many ways.
Hold on. Did I just hear a MAGA influencer express doubt about Trump?
Like, I'm kind of conflicted about Trump.
And on Gaza, of all topics, the issue where criticism gets you labeled as an anti-Semite faster than you can say ceasefire. But it gets better. Here's Candace Owens' response.
It's hard to reconcile because I see so much hypocrisy in terms of when we say America first, for whatever reason, we have this magic carve out. And you cannot pretend that that's not because AIPAC spends $100 million in our election. And this gets back to what we were talking about, whether it's Big Pharma, whether it's Israel, everyone's for sale in DC.
Everyone's for sale in DC. Let that sink in. This is coming from the same Candace Owens who defended Trump through every scandal, every lie, every corrupt allegation. The woman who built her entire brand on unwavering loyalty to Trump and MAGA is now openly acknowledging the corruption at the heart of the movement. And she didn't stop there.
And so I have been very disappointed with Trump on his perspectives about Gaza. I have been disappointed, by the way, he's the last person I'm disappointed with, because I've been disappointed, as we saw all last year, with the conservatives, people that say they're Christians, who are condoning this on the basis of what? Like, you're saying, oh, well, they're Muslims, so who cares?
Disappointed with Trump. 3 words I'm impressed to hear from Candace Owens. And she's not just disappointed, she's calling out the blatant Islamophobia that's been festering in the Maga movement since day one.
On the basis of what? Like you're saying, oh, well, they're Muslims, so who cares?
Remember Trump's Muslim ban, the rhetoric about radical Islamic terrorism, the constant dog whistles.
I think Islam hates us.
Well, Candace seems to have suddenly developed a conscience about it.
And that gets into our programming, which I've spoken about in my podcast of this 9/11 programming where we just don't see Muslims as like human life.
Yeah, programming. The same programming that she's been actively reinforcing for years, but at least she now acknowledges it. And then she goes after Trump directly for his callous comments about building casinos in Gaza.
To speak about Gaza and talking about casinos and hotels, and these people just lost their entire families. Yeah. It's so far removed from humanity, and I think it's wrong.
You're goddamn right.
You know what? She's right. It doesn't matter where you stand on the broader topic. Trump's comments were disgusting. While Palestinians were losing their homes, their families, their lives, Trump was daydreaming about real estate opportunities. It's sociopathic.
It's so far removed from humanity, and I think it's wrong.
Candace Owens is the one pointing it out now. But here's where it gets really interesting. She credits Elon Musk.
Go yourself.
Yes, the same Elon who's become Trump's tech billionaire bestie, for opening her eyes.
The images are seared into my brain. The screaming, the crying, the bleeding, the stuff that we saw on X for the first time, largely thanks to Elon freeing the bird and really realizing how much we had been lied to about what was happening in that region.
The cognitive dissonance is off the charts here. Elon Musk, who's been one of Trump's biggest cheerleaders, inadvertently helped expose the reality of Gaza that Trump is completely dismissing. It's like the Maga cinematic universe is imploding on itself. Theo Von, for his part, seems genuinely moved by the human toll.
Human people just feel like this is that it's just wrong.
Of course.
What's happened is wrong. Like probably a year ago, people were afraid to even say that. And now it is what everybody is saying.
He's right. The Overton window on Gaza has shifted dramatically. What was once taboo to discuss has become impossible to ignore, and Theo highlights just how deranged Trump's casino comments were.
And then Trump to come on top of it and say they're going to build, you're going to go on a lazy river where there's bodies of, like, who could even go to that?
Who indeed, Theo? Who indeed? And let's be clear, this isn't some hypothetical scenario anymore. This is the actual president of the United States right now in 2025 pushing forward with plans to develop Gaza.
Level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
Trump grossly released an AI-generated video showing his vision for Gaza's future. Luxury hotels, casinos, and yes, lazy rivers. Oh, and he also had what seemingly is trans women. So go figure. All of this was built on the same ground where thousands of Palestinians were buried under rubble. It's not just tasteless. It's not just insensitive. It is psychopathic. It's the commodification of carnage. It's looking at a humanitarian catastrophe and seeing a business opportunity, seeing free real estate. Only Trump could witness mass graves and think, you know what this place needs? A golf course. But here's where Candace Owens really surprises me. She calls out the manipulation of Holocaust memory to shield Israel from criticism.
The mainstream media thinking that we're so stupid, that they're going to condition us to believe that to not support the ethnic cleansing, they're then going to mine our like preconditioned beliefs about the Holocaust and be like, oh, well, you know, a Jewish person died. So if you don't agree with what we're doing over here, then you're a person that wants more Jewish people to die.
And then she makes a point that's actually pretty damn insightful.
It's precisely because of what I learned growing up about Holocaust and ethnic cleansings that I do not support what the state of Israel is doing.
That's the thing, isn't it? The lessons of never again were supposed to apply universally, not just to one group of people. The moral authority of Holocaust memory is undermined when it's weaponized to justify atrocities. Candace also makes a crucial distinction that often gets deliberately blurred.
You're also wrongly conflating, like, a Jewish American, why you have nothing to do with what's going on in Israel. This is a foreign country.
She illustrates this with an analogy of Ghana that's surprisingly effective.
No more than if right now we were standing up to a genocide that was happening in Ghana.
Yeah.
And then when I'm going to be like, oh, well, if you don't support what, you know, the the president of Ghana wants to do, then you want American slavery back. I'm like, it's like, what are you talking about? Just because I'm black and like maybe my family is from Ghana, why on earth would I not be able to critique a foreign country for something that they're doing that is so objectively wrong?
It's a solid point, and it's one that far too many politicians on both sides of the aisle refuse to acknowledge. But the most damning part comes when Candace expresses her disillusionment with the conservative movement itself.
So it's disappointed me as someone who just had so much respect and belief in the conservative movement and believing that it was a principled movement, and Christians as well.
The facade is cracking, my dudes. The true believers are starting to question their faith. So what does this all mean? It means the Maga movement is fracturing. When someone as deeply entrenched as Candace Owens starts publicly criticizing Trump, something significant is happening. And when Theo Von, who the Republicans expertly manipulated to reach his audience of young men, starts questioning the Maga line on Gaza, it shows that even the most carefully cultivated influencers have their breaking points. It means Gaza has become a moral litmus test that even the most ardent Trump supporters are failing him on.
It's so far removed from humanity, and I think it's wrong.
And most importantly, it means that maybe, just maybe, there's a limit to what people will accept in the name of tribal loyalty. Even the most die-hard MAGA influencers apparently have a breaking point. Now, of course, let's not get too carried away. Candace Owens isn't suddenly a paradigm of moral clarity. She's been wrong about virtually everything else, and one good take doesn't erase years of spreading dangerous misinformation. But it does suggest that reality can occasionally break through the most fortified echo chambers. The human suffering, when visible enough, can pierce through the veil of partisan loyalty. As Trump implements his second-term agenda, doubling down on these disgusting Gaza development plans, this fracturing could have real implications for his political capital. If Trump is losing Candace Owens on Gaza, who else might be questioning their allegiance? It's a crack in the foundation that could grow as Trump's second term unfolds. The MAGA crowd is waking up, at least on this issue, and while it's easy to say too little, too late, I'll take late enlightenment over permanent darkness any day, especially as Trump doubles down on his deranged Gaza development plans from the Oval Office.
Take whatever you have to take from me. I have to be on like the human side of things.
And that ultimately is what it all comes down to, the human side of things. Beyond ideology, beyond partisan loyalty, beyond even Trump himself, there is basic humanity. It's just hard to find it in some people. And on Gaza, at least, some of MAGA's most prominent voices are finally finding theirs. As for Theo Von, perhaps this is the beginning of a realization that he was used, that his platform and his influence with young men was expertly weaponized by a political machine that saw him not as a person, but as a vector to reach voters. Maybe now he understands why Trump's team was so eager to get him on board, why they cultivated him so carefully. Better late than never. Though for the Palestinians whose homes are being eyed for Trump's grotesque resorts and casinos, this awakening comes far too late. But at least it's happening. At least someone in the MAGA sphere is finally saying what needs to be said, that turning a killing field into a vacation spot isn't development, it's desecration.